Hello everyone! Next up, we've got one of the most anticipated rival matches of the entire league. It's Karin versus Riona. Karin's bringing her squad Karin Team Ebin, while Riona enters with It's Just Some Little Idiots. Two trainers who've basically been rivals since before the league, I guess. There's definitely a lot of history between these two. This isn't just another league match, it's a true rivalry crash, I think. Let's head into the team preview and get things started. Karin shows Klefki, Volcarona, Milotic, King Gambit, Hydreigon and Hawlucha. As we already know, Klefki is for screens and spike support. Volcarona is able to set up with Quiver Dance. Hydreigon could be the win condition here, looking at Riona's team. Probably a Scarf or something. Milotic is very bulky and tanks most of Riona's team. And King Gambit and Hawlucha are both very flexible late game cleaners. So I expect early screens into hazards maybe, and then mid game maybe a Volcarona switch in a setup or a Hydreigon sweep maybe, we'll see. Riona brings Galarian Slowking, Goldengo, Hippowdon, Conkeldurr, Quagsire and a Abomasnow, so a bulky control core with both Sand from Hippo and Snow from Abomasnow for Aurora Veil maybe. Also Galarian Slowking could pivot out and set up Snow with Chilly Reception. Goldengo has to be offensive, while Quagsire should be able to keep boosted Volcarona in check, however it doesn't want to catch a Giga Drain or a Fire move when it's Terrat. And I think Conkeldurr should be able to late game sweep. The problem with Riona's team being so slow is that she has two options to win this basically. She either commits to Trick Room, which I think it's best for this team, because with Trick Room, slow mons are fast and fast mons are slow, or she doesn't play Trick Room and uses regular speed control with things like Priority, Choice Scarf Goldengo, maybe an Icy Wind on Gala Slowking, Thunder Wave, stuff like that. And looking at the bigger picture, this match also highlights a key structural contrast between these two teams. Riona's roster is built from mostly slow and bulky Pokemon, things like Hippowdon, Conkeldurr and Slowking, but without Trick Room or reliable speed control, they are forced to take hits first and trade ineffectively. That makes it really hard to maintain momentum once Karin starts chaining pressure with faster threats like Volcarona, Unburden, Hawlucha or Scarf Hydreigon. Probably doesn't even need Scarf in this team. And in contrast, Karin's team doesn't have to jump through all those extra hoops to maintain speed control because it runs at a naturally faster pace. With that, Karin pretty much dictates when trades happen. So while Riona has to build her whole game plan around setting the right conditions to move first, Karin can just play straight into her offensive flow, and I think that difference alone makes her path to victory much simpler in this match. I'm genuinely very excited to see how this one plays out, so let's hop into the match. We see Karin's signature lead with the dual screen Klefki, Riona predicting that, leading with Galarian Slowking going for the flamethrower immediately, doing good damage. 33% behind the light screen is not bad. Riona switches out into her Hippowdon, probably predicting the Thunder Wave. Yeah, we see the Thunder Wave, so this Klefki probably spikes Thunder Wave dual screens again with Light Clay. We see Reflect. High horsepower does good damage, but 32% tells me that Karin is able to get out another layer of spikes here. Yeah. Klefki holds on with 2% of max HP. We see another layer of spikes, and this is a dead Klefki. However, with Light Clay, the light screen is up for another 3 turns and Reflect is up for another 5 turns. Klefki definitely did its job. Karin switches into Milotic, heavily pressuring Hippowdon. with water type moves, obviously. Riona tries to counter that with the switch into Goldango. However, with Goldango having a balloon and probably catching an attack here, popping the balloon immediately, that's not a very good situation to be in for Riona, as the balloon can give Goldango a free setup turn when facing a ground type Pokemon. We see Scald hitting Goldango. It's not able to burn Goldango since it has as good as gold. The balloon pops and we see Hex from Goldango, which is a good move because Melodic runs Flame Orb most of the time to trigger its ability. We see at this point Karin's signature Mirror Coat doing good damage against Goldango. Goldango recovers so that Mirror Coat doesn't do anything. Karin probably predicts that or predicts the switch, goes for the safe Scald. Thunder Wave doesn't do anything because Milotic is already statused, and in return Mirror Coat doesn't do anything because Goldango didn't use a special attack. And with this, Riona slowly stalls out Karin's screens. Light Screen is already gone. We see another recover into Scald, but Karin is very free to click Mirror Coat here. She's at 55%, another Thunder Wave. We see recover, not really much happening here. I don't know if Riona predicted the switch, but Karin doesn't really have to switch in here. Karin going for the Scald is a good natural move. She has to get out here though. She goes into a Lucha, predicting something, maybe the grass type move. Riona sets up a Aurora, like I said. Instead of going for Brick Break and getting rid of Aurora Veil, Karin uses Sword Stance to set up, and that's a free Blizzard for Riona, killing the Halucha. So very offensive and very in Riona's favor right now. Volcarona comes out, and as I said, Quagsire is a very good switch into Volcarona because of Unaware, and it has the Terra option. We see Giga Drain doing huge amounts of damage, Liquidation doing almost half, and if Riona doesn't Terra and recover here, she's pretty much dead. She switches out into Conkeldurr, which is divorced now. Aurora Veil ends, and with that the Psychic is enough to kill the Conkeldurr. Volcarona really picks up the pace here, and Giga Drain does hurt Hippowdon as well, even though it gets the special defense boost in the sand. It does 44%, which is enough for Volcarona to tank this high horsepower. Flame Body activates, and at this point this is pretty much a dead Hippowdon because the next Giga Drain is enough to kill it, and it doesn't do any damage anymore. Best case scenario is Hippowdon lives and goes for Seth Rock. However, Riona switches out her Hippowdon, and I think it would be very beneficial to her to let a Pokemon die here to get a safe switch in to handle this Volcarona. We see her switching into Gallery and Slowking, which resists the Giga Drain. However, since Volcarona is faster, it can just click Bug Buzz here. It doesn't have Bug Buzz maybe? Karin predicts the Psychic attack, or whatever attack Galarian Slowking would have gone for. Switches into her Hydreigon, and looking at both of the teams and at the HP values, Choice Scarf Dark Pulse Hydreigon should be able to sweep this. Okay, we see leftovers on Hydreigon. However, it's still faster than everything. We see a nasty plot, and that's pretty much game. Draco Meteor hits the Abomasnow. That was very risky because Draco Meteor has the chance to miss. But with the nasty plot, Hydreigon is still a neutral special attack after the Draco Meteor. Dark Pulse is enough to kill Clodsire, and I think this is everything Karin has to do now, because all of Riona's Pokemon are so low. Dark Pulse. We see a Dark Pulse crit. That's very unfortunate. And we also see the flinch on Gala Slowking. That's, at this point, this is just insult to injury. And here we see, again, Riona switches out into Goldango, fearing that her Galarian Slowking dies. However, she switches her Goldango into the attack, killing it. And this sealed her fate. There's no way she can come back from this now. Hippowdon is very low in HP, eats another Draco Meteor? Okay. Karin likes to gamble apparently. She's at -1 special attack, -2 special attack even. And with that, the Dark Pulse isn't enough to kill the Gala Slowking. Ice Beam is also not enough. We see the freeze from Ice Beam. What is happening? But at this point, Karin can freely switch into King Gambit. She stays in. Gambles again to thaw out. She doesn't. We see a crit, which didn't matter. And the Sandstorm kills Galarian Slowking, winning Karin this match. Karin takes it! The early game goes to plan for Karin. Klefki set up both screens and 2 layers of spikes before dropping to Hippowdon. And these 2 layers of spikes put in work. Every Riona switch later is text setting up crucial ranges. Mid-game we had the Milotic versus Goldango matchup, which stalled out Karin's screen. That was very good from Riona and allowed her to set up her own Aurora Veil. Blizzard into Lucha was very strong and very important for Riona to apply even more pressure on Karin, but from there Volcarona was way too strong. The Fiery Dance Giga Drain Psychic combo covered Riona's entire team, and burning Hippowdon and removing Conkeldurr was very strong from Karin. Once Hydreigon was able to set up the nasty plot, the game was over. Hitting a Abomasnow with Draco Meteor was very lucky from Karin, but very strong, because at this point this was Riona's win condition, and she would have been able to clean the rest with only Dark Pulse, because all of Riona's Pokemon were so low, even without critting. Slowking fought back with the Ice Beam Freeze to remove Hydreigon from the match, but even though it succeeded, the damage was done, and Riona's own Sandstorm lost her the match, killing the Glow King with the chip damage. So bottom line, Karin's early Klefki value plus her switches into Volcarona and Hydreigon made the difference here. Riona had bright spots, but without rock pressure and with spike damage piling up, Hydreigon's late game was pretty much inevitable. And of course, this one carries a little extra weight. Karin and Riona have shared a friendly rivalry since the start of the season, and I think this match was a bit personal. This time Karin takes it, but Riona will have a chance at revenge once the redraft phase comes around. With a few adjustments, maybe stronger speed control, or even a full Trick Room team, she could completely flip this match next time. For now though, it's Karin who walks away with the win and the bragging rights, at least until their next meeting. That closes out week 4 of the VPL. Thank you all for watching, and we'll see you next week for more amazing battles.